Let's start with the day's market action. The recovery continues in Dalal Street. Positive global cues boosted sentiment once again. Sensex gained over 500 points and the Nifty gained nearly 200. Mid-caps managed to outperform the blue chips. Nifty Bank Index gained nearly 400% with PSU banks leading the charge. Summer relief for farmers. The Union Cabinet has approved a hike in minimum support price for all Rabi crops between 3 to 9% for 2023 and 2024. The MSP for lentil has been increased by 500 rupees per quintal, making it the highest increase among the 6 crops, while MSP for wheat, which accounts for 70% of Rabi crops, has been hiked by 110 rupees per quintal. Manisha Gupta joins us with the details. Manisha, some respite for farmers?
Well, yes, the MSP price increase has been between 3 to 9% and slightly delayed, by the way, because in last couple of years, we saw it being announced in the month of September. This time, it has been around mid-October when we finally have the MSP announcements coming from the government. And as you can see on that table stuck up for you, the least of MSP increase has been in chana, just about at 2%. This is because the government has enough buffer stock when it comes to chana. The max within pulses clearly has been for masoor, where the government does not have a buffer stock. And we have seen lower production as well. In the other food grain commodities, wheat at 5.5% was anticipated, and in any case, 70% is wheat of the food grains that is produced within the Rabi season there. And then you have edible oils, wherein mustard is looking at an MSP increase of nearly 8%. Remember, 50 to 60% of our edible oil requirement is imported, and the government has been talking about self-reliance in case of edible oil. So mustard at around nearly 8% of an increase in MSP does not come in as a surprise there. Safflower increase of 3.8% doesn't really move much because there's a very limited, less quantity of safflower that India really produces. And then you have barley at around 6%. As I said, the markets were almost anticipating it there. The CSEP had recommended a 3 to 9% of an increase in Rabi MSP, and that's exactly what we are seeing here. The farmers with the Kharif MSP hike were not very happy. They have been talking about higher input costs, whether it has been about seed, fertilizer, pesticides, transportation, labor, everything has been on a hike, and they wanted the MSP rate hike to incorporate all of these rises there. Chana is the largest Rabi public crop there, Rabi crop there, and we haven't seen much of an increase onto that one. The initial reactions on chana are also not so great coming in from the farmers. Chana could be losing out to other Rabi crops is what the street tells us, so that is something you'll need to watch out for. But having said that, at between 3 to 9% of CSEP recommendation, and what we finally seen is pretty much what the street expected.
All right. Thank you very much, Manisha, for joining us. Let's move on now. India's rural markets and the mass entry-level segment is hurting across categories. Rising prices of everything from food to daily essentials and even fuel is pinching the wallets of rural households. Shilpa Ranipeta reports on the impact of inflation on rural households.
Inflation is biting rural India harder than the cities. The latest consumer price inflation data shows rural India continued to see steeper inflation in September at 7.56% as against 7.27% in urban, and overall retail inflation of 7.41%.
In the smaller town and the Bharat, or the real Bharat, where 70% of our population lives, I think, people who earn between 15,000 to 30,000 rupees per month, for them, inflation has really taken a lot of beating and given them a great stress on their budgets.
According to data from retail intelligence platform Bizom, sales in rural India fell 14.3% in September. Companies like Parle, Marico, Dabur and Godrej Consumer too have indicated liquidity pressures and downtrading in rural markets. Similar trends were also seen in automobiles and consumer durables, where entry-level products are seeing a decline in volume. Smartphones too are seeing bumper sales on the premium end, while budget smartphones are seeing a decline.
Below 10 rupee price point contributes to almost more than 65-70% to our portfolio, and that's quite significant. And definitely, from rural market, we've seen that this is sort of slowed down.
In addition, a severe heat wave followed by erratic monsoons have made matters worse. Northern and northeastern states like UP, Bihar and Bengal recorded a deficit monsoon this year, impacting crop output. This could lead to food prices continuing to be at elevated levels.
UP, Bihar, Bengal and Jharkhand, these 4 states, now there's a new theme, right? Although there is a deflation, say in fertilizer or say diesel, the new issue is because of a deficit of rainfall of 20-30%, the rice output will be impacted, and in general, agri output in these 4 states will be impacted.
Experts are now keenly watching the festive season for signs of a recovery in demand. With some commodity prices too showing signs of easing, experts say that there could be a recovery in the second half of this fiscal. According to Morgan Stanley, rural demand is set to rebound, helped by wider reopening, improving labour market conditions and improving terms of trade for the rural sector. In Mumbai, Shilpa Ranipeta.
Let's get you more corporate news now. Shares of Zee Entertainment surged after Invesco offloaded 5.5% of its stake in the company via block deal. Post the block deal, Invesco holds a little over 4.6% stake and is the second largest shareholder after LIC. The stake sale comes ahead of the Zee-Sony merger. There is a 180-day lock-in period for Invesco on further stake sale. Leading defence equipment manufacturers have gathered in Gujarat's Gandhinagar for the 12th edition of the Defence Expo. More than 1,300 Indian companies are showcasing their products and innovations in the 5-day exhibition. Over 450 agreements are expected to be signed this time, which is almost double than the last edition. My colleague Akash Sharma gets us this report from Gandhinagar.
On the very first day, we have bilateral talks with Africa, and not just Africa, but Indian Ocean region countries are also taking part in this particular event. Tomorrow, on 19th of October, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be a part of this event. This is going to show the world that how India is emerging as a hub of defense manufacturing units.
Mark II is not a Tejas. It is a new aircraft by design itself. It has a capabilities in terms of weapon carrying capabilities of 6.5 tons, whereas Mark I has got only 3.5 tons. This aircraft will be replacing all the existing Mirage 2000, Jaguar and MiG-29 aircrafts in the Indian squadrons. And we will be having a rollout of this aircraft in the next year.
Across all of our platforms, we work with 300 Indian supplier partners, of whom 70 of them are MSMEs, and we procure 8,000 crores per year, every year, from India that we export to support our production globally. So this is an example of Make in India for the world, not just Make in India for India, and that's our indigenization story.
As of now, this 5 days event is going to be concluded on 22nd of October, and everyone is anticipating a number of people that are going to take part in this particular event that has more than 1,000 exhibitors in it.
In the telecom space now, government has extended the deadline for submission of comments on the draft Telecom Bill 2022 from 20th October to the 30th. The extension comes after the department received requests from several stakeholders and industry associations. Remember, the current draft sparked controversy over the expansion of telecommunication services to bring OTT platforms under its mandate and had also raised other data privacy concerns. Union Health Minister chaired the first COVID review meeting in nearly 6 months after concerns over new Omicron subvariants. States like Maharashtra and Kerala have reported small spike in cases, while experts say there is no reason to panic. Timsi Jaipuria is here with the details.
Well, that's right. What sources are indicating to us is the fact that after almost a gap of 6 months is when today Health Minister Mansukh Mandviya took a detailed review of emerging COVID-19 situation in the country. This is followed by a few cases that have been detected and have been confirmed of the new sublineages of COVID-19's subvariant Omicron in the country, especially one in Pune, some in other parts of Maharashtra, and yes, in Gujarat as well. After this review, what we are given to understand that part of the review were Dr. V.K. Paul, Dr. N.K. Arora and other senior members and scientists who are part of NECBAG and NTAGI, who were actually giving a detailed report and noting that what could be possible steps that the government and people can take. It was reiterated that COVID-appropriate behavior is something that people need to follow given the festive season and upcoming winter season where the variant is more active. Also, apart from this, what could be possible steps? well, more sequencing, telling states to actually be a little more cautious, a little more vigilant towards cases and towards COVID-19 symptoms that people are reporting about. Let's see how soon more sequencing happens and what is the final update when it comes after the festive season. That is what these experts feel, that could be a marker to actually see what are the possible steps that the government can take. Back to you.
All right, so Timsi there reporting on the first high-level meeting on COVID-19 that has been chaired in about 6 months. Let's move on, and this is related to the death of former Chief Minister Jayalalitha. The panel appointed by DMK government to inquire into former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister and AIADMK Supremo Jayalalitha's death in 2016 has recommended a probe into the alleged role of her closest aide VK Shashikala, personal doctor, former Health Minister Vijay Bhaskar, among others. Jude Senath joins us with the latest. Jude, what are the key findings of this panel?
Well, the Tamil Nadu cabinet has tabled the findings of the Justice Arumugaswamy Commission that was tasked towards probing the death of former Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha last year, and the findings are quite telling. In fact, the commission has found 4 individuals, key individuals at that, for being at fault surrounding circumstances concerning the Chief Minister's death. These include former Jayalalitha aide V.K. Sasikala, her doctor K.S. Sivakumar, former Secretary of Health of Tamil Nadu J. Radhakrishnan, and former Tamil Nadu Health Minister Dr. C. Vijay Bhaskar. Additionally, the committee has also found a former Tamil Nadu Chief Secretary Rama Mohan Rao to be quote-unquote criminal in apparently approving procedures to be conducted on Jayalalitha while she was admitted in hospital for several weeks over. Incidentally, the commission has also accused Apollo Hospital's chairman, Dr. Pratap C. Reddy, of giving quote-unquote false statements surrounding the health of the Chief Minister, even claiming that she can be quote-unquote discharged anytime. The commission states that the Apollo Hospital chairman in fact conducted briefings, so to speak, without quote-unquote disclosing real facts surrounding the Chief Minister's health. Incidentally enough, the commission has said that Apollo Hospital per se is not to blame for the death of the Chief Minister, while only accusing its chairman of giving these statements. Additionally, the AIMS committee tasked with assisting the commission towards probing the death of former Chief Minister Jayalalitha has also given Apollo Hospitals a clean sheet.
All right, some critical findings there by the government-appointed panel. Let's see what happens in the days to come. Let's move on. A special interview now for you. This could be India's decade if we get our execution right. That's the word coming in from former SoftBank executive and head of Palo Alto Networks, Nikesh Arora. In a conversation with CNBC-TV18's Shireen Pan, Arora called on business to think digital and cloud first, adding that venture capitalists are currently cautious. Listen in.
Venture capitalists have been around for a very long time. They understand the market. They understand how things work. They understand cycles. What you've seen is they have not gone off the table. They're more diligent. They're spending more time doing scrutiny. In part, many of them are glad that the party's over because it allows them to go invest in real businesses for the long term. But I think you're done with Series D and E rounds and F rounds, valuing companies at billions of dollars. I think you're back to seed and Series A and Series B, looking for entrepreneurs who've done this before, who are going to go build a business in the next 10 years, who have the patience to build for the long term. So I don't think they're in risk-off mode. They're in cautious mode. And if there was a magic wand I could wave and ask for a wish, it would be us getting serious about understanding cloud adoption in the country, because most of the future technologies will be built in the cloud, which will allow for low latency, high bandwidth, high data processing capability, which, by the way, is what we're going to need to deploy AI in this country. So I think if we can get more and more cloud aware in India, if we can leapfrog the technological revolution in a way where we are actually a cloud-first country, it also requires the regulators to be more progressive from a cloud thinking perspective. But if you're able to do that, I don't think there's any stopping us.